that there are a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes out there, but a lot of this stuff came from the government. You know, there's a lot of stereotypes that there's a lot of drunk, lazy Indians out there. And I used to think that way too because I was in this system, this education system. You're taught to learn this way. But it's time that we take a good look out of this box and learn about other ways, especially here because it's really important. We have to be able to understand the relations between First Nations and non-First Nations. The Director of Education at that time, Peter Tarnowski, said, "What are you doing here? You should go to university." And because I grew up always being pushed down by the system, you're not good enough because you're in India. Being called down, seeing all the negative stereotypes that we see in the media about First Nations people, really made me feel at a point in my life where I was ashamed to even say I was First Nations. I've struggled a lot with my identity when I was young, but I'm very proud today to say where I come from and who I am. And I teach my 4 daughters that too, where they come from, who they are.
Well, growing up, I grew up in Saskatchewan, a lot in Saskatoon, but I spent a lot of time in foster homes. Most of the foster homes that I spent a lot of time was in a place called Timber Cove, and it was good. It was a beautiful, beautiful beginning. I loved my foster home. I loved my family. I loved how I grew up. Being a filmmaker, I really wanted to be a filmmaker when I was a kid. And it really inspired me because of Star Wars. Star Wars inspired me to be a filmmaker. All those early sci-fi things like Buck Rogers and everything. I wanted to be a filmmaker. A movie that really changed my life was a movie called Pretty Babies. A lot of people don't remember it, but it was a movie Brooke Shields was in before she got all nuts and crazy. But it was a movie that kind of went, I want to make movies like that because there was something about it. And but then it was the next probably a good 15, 20 years of my life that I kind of went down a different road and just trying to deal with myself, deal with my family. I had an alcohol problem. I had just a Marcel problem, and also at that time I'm going to say without trying to, as an Aboriginal person, I just never thought it was my place to be a filmmaker. I didn't think I was allowed to be a filmmaker.
Okay.
And because I wasn't the right color, let's say. Yeah. And then one day when I finally started dealing with my issues and dealing with my alcohol, and I quit drinking and quit doing everything and quit being mean to myself, that's when things started opening up again. I started writing more. And I wrote a lot when I was a kid because that was my way of dealing with things, is writing. And so I started taking all those old stories back. I remember when I put my first film out in 2008, and I sat there at the theater, and there was like probably about 130 people at this theater watching my movie, and I'm going, wow. A friend of mine who is a filmmaker from Vancouver phoned me and said, congratulations, you're now a filmmaker. And it was weird to hear that. And I'm going, wow, I guess I'm a filmmaker. But it was cool. The greatest thing that I had to overcome, foster homes, really nothing, because the foster home I was in was a great foster home. And I know a lot of people, whether they're Aboriginal or not, there's not a lot of good stories about foster homes out there. But the foster home I was in during my time, my parents were amazing to me, my foster parents. I probably wouldn't be here today without their guidance. It just took me a little longer to finally realize and start listening to the world. You know how we are when we're young. We think we know it all, and we're going to do it. We're going to conquer the world. The alcoholism, it was a big setback for the longest time. I drank a lot, and it was abusive to myself. I was abusive to other people. But I drank because I didn't like myself. But it was because of growing up in a foster home. You feel like you're less perfect. Where's your mom and dad? Why aren't they here? And why don't they care about you? So that becomes part of you. But as I got older, and really what changed my life was I was married 3 years before I quit drinking, but I was married. I got divorced. We also had a son. He passed away right after we divorced. And then the biggest thing that really changed my life is I got stabbed 19 times. I got stabbed 19 times in one night, and I went, this is not me. This is not who I should be. Learning about my family, when I was younger, I didn't understand it. I think when I was younger, I thought it was normal. And that's a strange thing for people have to overcome. And because I thought it was normal to fight with your brother and to break each other's noses. But it's not normal, right? It's not normal to fight your brothers. It's not normal to have your sisters working on the street. But there's parts of society that do different things. It's not right, but we all live differently, and it's survival. And I think what inspired me most about my mom and my sisters and my family altogether is that they survived. And it was the resilience of surviving. And a lot of people don't realize how much they have that inside of them. I'm a big guy on change and hope. That you don't always have to you don't have to live the way you live. There's a lot of people out there, whether they're white or Indian, or Aboriginal or white, that we don't have to be like that. We don't have to live on the streets. We don't have to do that. And it's really making choices. And I'm not trying to say people can fix or get changed just like that. But what I'm trying to show people is that the one thing that we always have inside of us is hope. And what I try to do with the Hunters documentary is show people, here's 5 beautiful women that overcame everything. They should have been dead. Because they have every right to be mad because of what they went through, but they don't. They got up one day and said, I don't want to live like this anymore.
Instead of being in front of the camera, I wanted to be the guy doing the interviews. I really wanted to target the entertainment side of journalism because I noticed there's a lack of entertainment journalists that are focusing fundamentally on Indigenous artists. Our Aboriginal youth are very drawn and engaged with the hip-hop culture. I was approached in, I think it would be 2005, maybe 2006, by Ranchero Law Society in order to do a collaborate students, 10 different classes, and we made a hip-hop CD. So we brought in the equipment, we wrote the rhymes with the kids, and we recorded them, and we ultimately made a CD, and it was called The New Education. It's just exciting to work with students about something that I was passionate about. There's different, I guess, different facets of my support system. You know, like I didn't come from a broken home, so I was always encouraged to do what I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. That allowed me to formulate ideas of what I like and what I don't like. Right out of high school, I worked for the Indian governments of Saskatchewan. What I've had to overcome of recent years has definitely been being out of school for a long time. In hip-hop, there's old school, new school. I wasn't old school or new school, I was skip school, okay? So being out of school for about 10 years and then diving right back into it with a full load of classes, that was definitely an obstacle. There is an image that is painted upon the Aboriginal peoples as mostly negative. There are lawyers out there that are First Nation. There are economists that are First Nation. There are journalists that are First Nation. And regardless of skin color, creed, religion, beliefs, as long as they have a good head on their shoulders, I think that an individual will see past those stereotypical ideologies such as that systemic racism brings on. Aboriginals are going to be a major contributor to our economy. The time has come for us to take note, make a change. It's a right for us to vote. Some situations are so complex, it's like we're stuck in a rut and we're put to the test, but we stand tall, unite to stop a downfall. Let's save a university, how does that sound, y'all? And this is roll call, let's get to stepping it up. Left and right wing together like a team for the cup, so throw it up if you're down to make a better world. Let's keep the streets clean and rhythm of a fallen world. There's any numbers of solutions, stop pollution, evolutions, retributions, revolution. The conclusion is this. Even if a right to vote was the last right left, we'd still have that one right left, right? Nonetheless, the situation is this. It's a gathering of nations all united with fists.
Whoa, yeah.